Hey, I'm Q RuPaul, and welcome to lesson 27 in our series. Today we're going to be talking about how to say I like something or you like something in Spanish. For example, I like strawberries. This is going to be a little trickier than it sounds, and well, frankly, that's why I waited until lesson 27 to bring it up. And the reason is because there's no verb in Spanish that's exactly like our English verb to like. I'm certainly not suggesting that Spanish speakers don't like things or like to do things. It's just the way that they express it in their language is going to be different. So we're going to have to think about it a little bit differently. Let's get started. We're going to be using this verb, gustar, which means to be pleasing to. So the action is not yours in Spanish. You don't like things. Things are pleasing to you. I'll show you what I mean. Take a look at this sentence. I like the movie. Now, if we want to make this English sentence into Spanish, we already know they don't have a verb for to like, so we're going to have to change the way we actually view this sentence so it's easier to turn into Spanish. Since gustar means to be pleasing to, what we will literally be saying is, to me, the movie is pleasing. I realize that the English constructions sound super awkward and unnatural, but remembering it in this way, this literal translation, is going to help you correctly translate these sentences in the future. Let's go back to our verb, gustar. We're going to need to conjugate it, but fortunately, we're only going to be focusing on two conjugations. One in the third person singular, gusta, and that's when we're talking about one thing that we like, or gustan, plural, when we talk about more than one thing that we like. In our sample sentence, we're just talking about the movie, which is singular, so we know we're going to be using gusta. We're getting really close to making a sentence here. But first, we need to talk about indirect object pronouns. That may sound familiar because, well, I taught you about object pronouns, and these are very similar. In fact, 3 of the forms, the me, te, and nos, are the same. But the other ones, le and les, are not. We'll need to know these because we're going to have to plug them into that awkward English sentence and say, to whom is the object pleasing? In this case, to me. Let's put it all together. The sentence we wanted to translate was, I like the movie. But in Spanish we know it's a literal translation of, to me, the movie is pleasing. Which in Spanish would be, me gusta la película. Just a reminder, the verb belongs to the object that is pleasing. So, in this case, movie, la película, is singular, so it's gusta. What if we're talking about something plural, though? Take a look at this sentence. I like the mountains. The first thing we do is think of it in Spanish terms, make a literal translation in our head. To me, the mountains are pleasing. That makes it easier to make our Spanish sentence. Me gustan las montañas. Me gustan las montañas. Now, if I want to ask somebody, do you like the mountains? That's easy to do. I just changed the me to te. ¿Te gustan las montañas? See, that wasn't hard at all, especially once you do your literal translation from English to Spanish. Now let's talk about liking general items. For example, you want to ask someone, do you like rice? If we think of it in literal terms, we're going to be asking, to you, is rice pleasing? Now, I know it would sound better to say, is rice pleasing to you? But I want you to remember to put that me, te, those indirect object pronouns in front of the verb. Before we translate it, I'm going to tweak the sentence just a little bit by putting a word the in there. So what we're going to be asking is, to you, is the rice pleasing? In Spanish, when you talk about things in general, you include the definite article. That's the, or in Spanish, the el or la. So our final translation becomes, ¿Te gusta el arroz? ¿Te gusta el arroz? If you want to answer that question, you just have to make some small changes to the sentence. ¿Te gusta el arroz? Sí, me gusta el arroz. Or, no, no me gusta el arroz. Let's do another one. Do you like strawberries? ¿Te gustan las fresas? See, it's a piece of cake. Now it's gustan because fresas, strawberries, is plural. We'll do one more example before we end the lesson today. This one's pretty useful for happy hour. Do you like white wine? No, I like red wine. ¿Te gusta el vino blanco? No, me gusta el vino tinto. That's it for the lesson today, but don't worry, we're far from being done with this topic. In fact, this was just part one. We're going to continue with it in the very next lesson. Hasta luego.